This is a 45 watt gallium nitride charger, and it's a mini house charger. Normally when I test USB chargers, I just put an extension cord out here, but this guy is specifically designed to be plugged in to kind of like a power outlet or a outlet that's flat because it has design elements. I received this to review for free. If you wanted to purchase it, it would cost you $25. They have not paid me for my review, so my opinions remain my own. Alright, so in the box you get this power charger, and it is stylized like a little house. It has dual USB-C ports on the top, and it has a fold-out US 120 type outlet here. And so when you plug this guy in, the window lights up, and it kind of has a warm white glow on it. Now, let's give it a test here. I don't know which of these two outlets is C1 or C2. Don't know if it matters. I'm going to just plug in this guy here, and this is a USB-C power delivery, and so let's plug this into the load. Okay, so my load is a 20 volt load, and it is negotiated 20 volts, and the current is ramping up now. Alright, so we have 19.9 volts at 2.27 or 2.28 amps, and the power there is 45.1 watts. So this guy is definitely providing 45 watts of power, as it is as its specification state. It's providing 45 watts of power. So the window here is a kind of a cool white, very lit up. When I unplug this, the window turns back to a warm white, and it's a little bit dimmer. I'm going to try the second port just to make sure we can get the same out of the second port. Alright, so the second port has also gotten up to 19.9 volts at 2.28 amps, and so power out of the second port is also 45. We're actually going 45.3 watts out of the second port. Alright, so testing the window glow effect. It stays warm white until the load gets up about 1.5 watts. And so when this load gets up to about 1.5 watts, which is about 0.3 amps, this window will turn white, and that's kind of a cool white, and so it gets slightly brighter. Mostly it's the color temperature that's changing, but it also lights up just a little bit more. Now it stays lit up until this guy gets down low, so your phone gets done charging or a device stops pulling a lot of current, and it will actually go down, and it stays white until it hits about 0.5 watts, about 0.1 amp. So there, it just turned yellow again. So when it gets below about 0.1 amp, 100 milliamp hours, or 0.5 watts, it'll turn yellow, and it stays yellow until it gets up above 1.5. So essentially, if your device is charging, it'll light up white, and then when the device stops drawing much current, it'll flip down to yellow. Now, if you're charging something super small, like earbuds or a watch or something that doesn't take hardly any current at all, it might never turn white. But anything that takes 1.5 watts or more is going to flip this thing to white, and it'll stay white until it's down to below half a watt of draw. So it's kind of an indication of, hey, is this thing charged or not? So this guy here is getting 45 watts of power. Now when we plug in this guy into the port closer to the window, it's at 5 volts. This guy drops down to 12 volts, but it retains 33 watts. So it looks to me like power priority goes to the port that's farthest away from the window. So put your big device in there, plug it in first, and then plug a secondary device into the port by the window. Alright, I'm going to leave this here for about 15 minutes, pushing 45 watts, and then we'll put a thermal camera on it and see how hot it gets. Okay, this guy has been out here powering 45 watts for about 20 minutes now. Looks like the hottest point is about 61 centigrade up here. And this is an entirely plastic case, so it doesn't really transfer that heat to my fingers super fast. I can keep my fingers on top of it without any real discomfort for several seconds, but it is hot. So this guy is, 2 to 3 cubic inches. It's a relatively small surface area to dissipate heat, and if you draw 45 watts out of it continuously, it will warm up. It looks like the hottest point is about 60, 61 centigrade. So you wouldn't want to leave this on bare skin but just sitting here, it's definitely hot to the touch, but it's not, you know, dangerously hot. All right, I like this little guy. It has this window indicator that tells you whether or not your device is done charging. Only downside there is if you're trying to use this in a bedroom, it does put a decent amount of light. It meets its specifications. It'll give you 44 or 45 watts out of either of these ports. If you charge two devices, it'll split that power pretty well among the two devices. Just remember to put your bigger device on the port farther away from the window to give it kind of priority. I've seen it do 20 volts, 12 volts, 9 volts, and 5 volts for the USB-C power delivery standard. It also supports some other standards like the programmable power supply, quick charge 3, AFC, FP, FCP, SCP, Apple 2.4 amps, other things I haven't even heard of, but basically it looks like it's supporting USB power delivery just fine. And the design's pretty cute. Now, it probably works better plugged into an outlet that's flat, but you could use this in a wall outlet.